Today I'm going to be speaking on getting a job. The reason I'm speaking on getting a job is, let's be honest, if you don't have a job, life can get hard. Okay? And the purpose of an evangelist is to equip the saints for good service. Part of that is we need money. So I've been working in recruitment for most of my life, which means I've not only done as a recruitment consultant, I've employed people, and then I've run agencies. And I've run executive agencies, I've run blue-collar agencies and white-collar agencies. So what you think people want in a resume, etc., and what actually, when you sort of see the other side, it's amazing just how sort of different it is from the two different sides. Why? Most people that actually train people how to get a job aren't actually in the working world. So if you go to a university, people that are teaching you how to write a resume from a university, they're in a little box, as most people are. So they're telling you to write a resume for how a university wants you to write that resume. So what I'm going to talk about today is not really how to get a job in education or with the government, because they have very specialist ways of recruiting people. But in the real world, things act very, very differently. Why? Well, in recruitment, I would actually put forward 3 candidates for a job, and I would interview them, and I could tell you which one was best for the job. I get to know the company. Which one they offered the job to was very often very different. And in the end, I'd ask them, why did you employ that person? They go, well, he likes the same football team as me. And that is literally why people employ people. Why? Because that person looking at you is going, do I want to work with this person for the next 12 months in the same room? That is what they judge people on, because that's life, right? Even when you go in to choose a household that you live in, yeah, it's got to be a nice house, but if you don't like the people, you don't move in. And that's what education doesn't give you, is like there's a gap between what the books say and then the reality of it. So how to get a job? Well, the first thing is you've got to build a resume. So point 1, building a resume. Proverbs 14:12. There is a way that appears right, but in the end it leads to death. Here people really need a change of mindset. You may think you know what an employer is looking for, but you've never been that employer. Most of us going for jobs have never employed anybody. So if you think you know what they want, you've got to say, what is that based upon? Have you ever been in management? Are you 30 or 40 years old? Have you recruited people before? Human resources departments, resources and recruiters as a manager do not care about you personally. They don't care about you. If you register with somebody in a recruitment agency and they smile at you and you feel like you have a connection, you are one of 1,000 people they see that year. You remember that person incredibly. It's like evangelism. You meet that person and you remember that person that said they want to come to church. They don't hardly remember you at all. You know that because you phone them up and they go, who, what, where? It's exactly the same. That's one of the things that people really find hard to accept, is that it's not personal. When I went back into recruitment, my wife and I went off for a night away and we met these really nice people who were struggling to get a job. And I went back to my recruitment agency and I said to my colleague, hey, can you help these guys, maybe give them a few tips? She goes, why should I do that? I'm not going to earn any money from it. Why would I waste half an hour? You see, I was thinking in a Christian mindset. But we're not dealing with Christians. We're dealing with the world. Okay? So people are paid for a job. If it's a recruiter, they are paid to fill jobs. They're not paid to be your friend. So if they come in and within 5 minutes of an interview, they don't like you, they'll close the interview down and you go, that's a bit rude. No, that's money. That's business. The only thing they really care about is filling that job with someone who can and will do it well and not leave that job. So why do you need to understand that? Because then it will change your mindset. You have to appeal to the person that is doing the recruiting. You have to think like they think. So what is the purpose of the resume? The purpose of a resume is just to get you an interview. That is the only job a resume has. Nothing more, nothing less. If it does not get you an interview, it will not lead to a job. So if you're putting stuff on there that is irrelevant to getting you an interview, why? Like it or not, employers will usually make a judgment on your resume within 5 seconds. Okay, so I'll show you how it works. So I was in a recruitment agency. I would come in on a Monday morning. I'd get my coffee. I have done 15 advertisements on Friday night, and I need to go through all of those resumes. So for every one of those 15 jobs, I have 50 resumes, and I have to do that by 9 a.m. You get 2 or 3 seconds. If I don't see what I want, why waste my time going through it? You go, well, it was at the bottom of the resume. I don't care. I'm just trying to fill that job. I don't care about you. I'm just filling that job. So I go click, click, click. And if I see what I want, I'm going to choose that person. You need to understand that because that's how people work in the world. All right? Under this time frame, the most important aspects of your resume will be the titles that you list. In other words, the one standing out in black. Okay? If they don't catch me, I'm not going to read what's underneath. You've got to make sure your resume grabs attention. Try to be descriptive as possible. In other words, if somebody sees a word, then underneath it needs to attract them even more. Giving the employer a good idea about the nature of your past work experiences. Sometimes when you actually list duties, it sort of goes, I was really friendly with people. And great, fantastic. Okay, I'm a good communicator. Well, the fact that you put down I'm a good communicator means you're not a good communicator. Because does that make sense? You're like, I'm a friendly and warm person. Let me decide whether you're a friendly or warm person. Right? It means nothing. Keep your resume to 1, maximum 2 pages. Why? If I would open and see a resume with 6 pages, I go, forget it, not interested. I'm going to fill the job with somebody easier to fill the job with. Now, if you go for an interview, you can then take a more fleshed up resume if you want. Remembering the initial resume is to get you a job. If you then go for the job and go, I've actually got lots more great experience and hand it to them then, that would be a useful time for doing a filled out resume. But the resume is just to get you a job. Sell yourself. Now, this is one of the Christians sort of have a problem with, well, I don't want to be proud. I don't want, okay. The job of your resume is to sell yourself. Because if you don't, nobody else will. An angel will not appear to that recruiter and go on, he's wonderful. He's amazing. So you are to boast about who you are and what you have done. Okay? You need to sell yourself with every achievement you have. And I'll go through this. For example, every time you write something, too often what people do is they go, I'm going to put down my duties in a resume, like a job description. So it goes, answering telephone calls. Great. I already know if the title is reception that that's what you do. So how does that help me want to recruit you? So instead of answering calls on receptions, you need to sell yourself. Handling high volumes of calls under extreme pressure at times while constantly remaining joyful and an excellent ambassador for the company. Now you're a receptionist that I want to employ. Instead of running large projects, sell yourself running projects in excess of $60,000, always coming in before deadline and under budget. Now you've given me a reason to employ you. Too often we write down our duties and go, well, I've just seen 10 project managers, they all do that. What I'm looking for someone is somebody that can do it well. So if you don't tell them that, they're not going to employ you. Tell them how good you are. Do not simply list the job description they already have in mind. As long as you don't go over the truth, all marketing efforts that you can put in your resume, content, design, method, or so on, give you an advantage. So, for example, most people go, I work for IBM. Well, then there's another resume where there's actually the logo of IBM. And you go, so which one? This guy's being creative, put more effort in their resume, and this one just says IBM. This person has put their resume that stands out. This one doesn't. Remember, you have 5 seconds to impress your employer. And actually, you get so good at it, you must really spend about 2 seconds, 2.5 seconds. And that's it. You do a front run, click all those, and then you print them off, and then you go through them. Understanding that should help you really go, okay, what do I need to do in my resume? Use a thesaurus. Like if you're like me, I don't have a great command of the English language. So I go, I was good at the job in a good way, and I'm a good man. Okay. That's how we speak. We're actually quite lazy when it comes to English. But you get a thesaurus out, which is a book, if you don't know, that where you look up the word good and it gives you like 100 different descriptions. Amazing, perplexing, phenomenal. So now I'm an amazing, perplexing, phenomenal person, not just a good person. Okay? That attracts people. Adjective stir emotions. Okay? Swap did for achieved, or did for forcefully, managed to energized. Okay? Proverbs 16:21, the wise in heart are called discerning, and gracious words promote instruction. So the words you use are impressive. That's why it's really important to nail down actually what your resume looks like. You should look at your resume and not recognize yourself. Does that make sense? You go, man, this guy's amazing. Who? Oh, it's me. You may need help in doing that. Okay, some tips here. Keep it to 1 to 2 pages. Put in order of relevance, not order of date. So, what happened to me was, when I came out of the ministry in England, I'd been in the ministry 10 years, and then I had 2 recruiting jobs before that. So I put it in chronological order, because that's what people tell you to do, right? Didn't get any bites or jobs. People were like, and I was applying for recruitment jobs. He's a minister. That's a bit weird, isn't it? And that's how most people viewed it. I then changed it and went recruiter 2 years, recruiter 2 years, minister 10 years. I got interview after interview after interview. I didn't lie, because I just put 2 years, 2 years, and 10 years. But they read it like, oh, he's just finished 2 recruitment jobs. So now I was speaking their language. So I got lots and lots of interviews. Oh, so what recruitment job have you in? No, I've done 2 and I have a job. I just finished as a minister. Oh, but at that time I was already in the interview. Does that make sense? So you need to speak their languages, is putting things in order according to what they want to read. Outline the most important stuff at the top. People read your resume from this point down. So at the top of you should have your name, your address, etc., email, and make sure your email is a good one. If it's funkydude.com, they will not give you a job. Okay? It needs to be josephwillis@gmail.com. I'm serious. Some of your emails, they're cool as a Christian, but they're not cool as a professional. So just your name and an email. Okay? Then the number one thing, and I've put a picture of a resume I did here, is there needs to be achievements. Why? Well, if I'm looking at 20 jobs for receptionists, and every one of those resumes have done 2 reception jobs, I've already agreed that I've got 20 receptionists. I now have to talk to my prospective employer, or if I'm a human resources manager, I'm speaking to the head receptionist on, you should interview this person because. So you now need to equip the person selling you. So what needs to be on there? Anything that you have achieved. If you have run a marathon, if you had an award, if you have played the fiddle and got a distinction at grade 1 when you were 3, put it in there. Why? What you're saying is, employ me over this next person. And this is where you have to get rid of the false humility. I would always interview anybody that ran a marathon. Always, and this was before I ran a marathon. Why? It takes a lot of effort to run a marathon. If somebody is school captain, has achieved this, has played basketball and won competitions, I'm looking for someone that I know has character. Okay? So you need to put all your achievements, different countries, and you may need to sit down with somebody and brainstorm what those are. Because I'm not that good, I'm not very, geesh. Charlotte learned English, moved over to America, did honors over there, came to Australia, did honors over here. She has moved 3 different countries and been a high-performing student at 3 different universities, China, America, and here. That's not an easy thing. Well, I thought it was easy. That's not easy. Does that make sense? Another one. If you don't speak English, okay, and this is just reality here. One of the reasons that people with Asian names or Indian names or foreign names don't get an interview is they presume that you cannot speak English properly. Now, you may be an ABC and born here. Where does this come from? There are many cases in blue-collar work where people have died because of a lack of understanding. So somebody may employ a fitter or a turner that has broken English. And on a safety rule, they'll go, okay, you need to make sure that that barrel is moved over there. And the guy didn't understand it. The barrel was left and somebody died. So when I'm an employer, I'm going to go, I need to know that they speak perfect English. That's what I'm really after. So if your name is a completely foreign name, okay, they won't even interview. One of the first people who became a Christian here was a guy called Cavendish. He was English through and through. But his name was Cavendish because he was originally from Sri Lanka, was getting no jobs whatsoever. He said, change your name to Kevin. And he got interview and after interview after interview. That's the reality. Well, that's unfair. The Bible says the people of this world are sharper at dealing with people in this world. Is it racism? No, they're trying to think, I need somebody that can speak English properly. That's what's actually going on inside their mind. Okay? Put number of years, not dates. Leave out dates. In other words, they don't need to know everything. So if you've had a period of employment for a year and then a period of unemployment, don't go, I was unemployed for a year. Okay? That is not going to sell you. Go, I worked for 2 years here, then 2 years here, and 2 years here. If you're older, do not put down every single job. Why? Most people will not employ somebody over 50. Why? Because they think you're unfit. That's what's actually, it's got nothing to do with age. They go, most old men are fat and unfit and cannot work as hard as a young person. That's actually what's going to justify your achievements. So I used to employ a lot of salespeople, and I can always tell you who I'd employ. And I have one salesman go, so how did you do in your last job? It was great. I was great at the job. Okay? So what did you do? I was just great. Everybody loved me. I was great. I go, well, I'm not employing you. Salesmen talk facts and figures. My goal was $100,000. In January, I hit $120,000. In February, I hit $140,000. In March, then I did 90, but I made it up in May and April, and I did 150. I go, I'm employing you. You know what's going on. Always use facts and figures. Do not put irrelevant facts in there. I like reading books, does not a relevant fact. Okay, my interest. I don't care about your interest. In actual fact, if you like the Brisbane Broncos and I'm a Cronulla supporter, that may not get you a job. That's serious. That's how strongly some people feel about football. Okay. Writers' people want to read it. So people go, well, it's not the correct English. Nearly everybody doesn't speak correct English. That's just the truth. Now, not if you're applying for an English teaching job, it needs to be perfect English, okay? But that's not where most of us are at. Regurgitate the advert. So again, when I came out of the ministry, I started getting interviews, but it was hard. And then I was sitting at a recruiter's, and I saw this job in an advert in a job magazine. And I read it, and I thought, okay, this is what I'm going to do. I got the advert, and I literally put the advert in my resume. So it said, wants 2 years experience. I went, I have 2 years experience. It goes, needs to have a car. I can drive a car. Has this. I went, and I regurgitated the advert. Now, this advert was 6 months old. They phoned me up and interviewed me on the spot and gave me the job. Why? I spoke their language. So you've got to listen to what people want. Use their logo on your resume. So if you are going to do a cover letter, use their logo. I'm applying for such and such a company. Mention who you work with if it helps to sell you. Okay, so yeah, I worked with an All Black called Colin Barrett, and I go, yeah, who's one of my employees? You employed an All Black? You still know him? Yep. Okay, you got the job. I mean, that sort of stuff helps you. Get a fantastic LinkedIn profile. Even with Facebook, people check out your Facebook. Okay, if there is inappropriate things on your Facebook, they will not hire you. That's one of the first things people do. Your Facebook is your advertisement to you. If you got some silly photo going, I'll go, that is not who I'm going. But it's my personal page. As soon as you make it public, it is not your personal page. As the Bible says, whatever is whispered in secret will be shouted from the rooftops. People are even fired today and go to court over being fired over things they have done on Facebook. Okay, so you need to watch that. There's an example here of a resume, just in brief, but it showed you about putting the achievements at the top. Okay, getting an interview. Well, first of all, if you haven't got a job, you have to make a job of getting a job. Okay? 2 Thessalonians 3:10 says, "For even while we were with you, we gave you this rule. The one who is unwilling to work shall not eat." So if you are unemployed, you look for a job for 40 hours a week, 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. every single day. You do not use the ministry as an excuse not to get a job. Well, bro, I've got to study at 10. Well, I've got to study at 2. If I wanted to employ you, I would. You're not in the ministry, you're unemployed. Okay, so we just hired Aaron, because I was like, I don't want him to get a job. He's been hired before, but I want him to get, he's done some great things. I went, no, okay, we got some extra money from Bass. Thank you, Amos, and everybody for helping with that. Let's hire the guy. Why? Because I want him to study the Bible with people. I want you to get a job. Okay, so that is your job, to get a job. Apply for every job you can. Let's deal with the insecurities here. If you see a great job you want, apply for it. Do not let your insecurities of why you will not get it stop you from applying for a job. So the job says 5 years experience. You go, well, I've only got 4. Apply for the job. They're writing their wish list. It is amazing to me when companies would give me an advert for, I want you to fill this job, and then who we filled it with. It was nothing like the job description at all. Let them decide whether they don't want you instead of you deciding they don't want you. Give yourself the opportunity. Apply for at least 30 jobs online every single day. At least. Most, and as for cover letters, do away with them. Don't spend your time on them. Unless it's for education or government. Okay, they are the unique things. People don't read them. I've just explained to you how many seconds I do looking at resumes. I am not looking at your cover letter. Believe me. Understand how online recruitment works and apply for as many jobs as possible. So how does the system out there work? Well, this is it. I put an advert up on Seek and it cost me $150. Okay? I get 50 people apply for that job. I'm not going to look at all 50. In actual fact, you can leave up that advert on Seek for a month and then they take it down. So what happens is I quickly choose which 3 I want. All right? And most adverts go up on Friday night. So your best time to really look for a job is Friday night after Bible talk. Okay? And then I go through it and I choose these 3 resumes. Every other resume, including those, I move into my database. Why? I've paid $150 for all of those resumes. They are now my intellectual property. The next job I get, my boss goes, have you checked your database before we spend $150 and put it up on Seek? No, I haven't. So I then do a word search, okay, receptionist. So every single person that has applied for every single job ever in the history of my recruitment company, I can now access. So if you have applied for a managing director's job and you are simply a receptionist, and they go, well, that was a bit silly, your resume has gone into the database. They don't know or remember that you applied for a managing director's job. The issue is you have to get your resume on as many websites as possible. That's how it works. You go, well, there aren't 30 jobs that I'm specific for. Doesn't matter. Go and apply for the managing director's jobs. It is purely a numbers game. It is not personal. Okay? So you can apply for 30 jobs for the rest of your life. The other thing is you might want to do is really do a word search on your actual resume. Okay? So if there's anything in there that you can put in there, like Queenslander. Well, some people prefer hiring Queenslanders or not, okay? Put anything in there, basketballs. People sort of just go, well, you know what? It's a receptionist for a company that makes basketballs, okay? So I'll put reception and basketball in, and that's how I'll word search it. So you have to go through your resume and try and put any extra words in it as possible. Use as many ways of getting a job as possible. Send your resume out to as many friends as possible. Relatives, university job boards, use Facebook to post your resume. When was the last time you just put your resume on Facebook? Oh. When did you ask? How many friends do you have? Anybody know anybody that can help me look? Well, all my friends are in America. Well, they have friends in Australia. Give God room to work. Notices at your local supermarket. Do a little flyer. Put it on there. University boards. I mean, you've got to get out there. Too many of us, well, I've applied for 30 jobs and that's my did it. I did it by 10 p.m. and I'm off evangelizing again. 60% of jobs are filled through relationships, not through the internet. I don't know what the percentage is now. We used to say 60% is through relationships, 20% is through the internet, and 20% is through recruiters. 60% of all jobs are given through relationships. Why? People feel very insecure about hiring people. It costs an enormous amount of money to hire people and then train them, etc. They want to know who you are. So if I go, Kerry's got a friend who's done... You're Kerry? Oh, send her over. She'll get an interview. Think about how many people Millie has got a job because of her recommendation. You need as many friends as possible. A lot of you have 200 telephone numbers in your phones from people you have met on the street. Have you asked them for a job? Why not? You've made friends with them. You've made contact with them. Time and chance happen to absolutely everybody. Get your resume and go and meet people. When you send out your resume to people, they go, well, the manager's not here. Just give me the resume. It never gets to them. Or if it rarely does, you go, when is he back? So I remember when I was door knocking with Dario, I go, where's the head chef? Oh, head chef's off. When's he back? Oh, okay, I'll come back tomorrow. Because even that shows that persistence. But people buy off people. And then, of course, take it to God. Pray about it all the time over every application. Well, that's a bit much, isn't it? No. You've got to get God involved. James 4:8, come near to God, and he'll come near to you. Wash your hands, you sinners, and purify your hearts, you double-minded. James 5:16, therefore confess your sins to each other and pray for each other so that you may be healed. The prayer of a righteous person is powerful and effective. Make sure you're righteous. Make sure your sin is not stopping you getting a job. Why aren't you blessing me? Why are you in sin? Simple as that. Okay? Take time to fast and beg God. God wants you to have a great life. Satan doesn't. So if you're the sort of person that will be tempted to miss church because you've got no money, he'll make it hard for you to get a job. Our war is against the spiritual forces. So if you don't have great quiet times, you're not fasting and praying, you ain't going to win the battle. So much of this is, okay, I've given you lots of practicals. So much of the battle is won in prayer and fasting. Well, I prayed for 3 minutes and then I worked for 10 hours to find a job. You're better off praying for 10 hours and working for 3 minutes. Point 3, blow them away at the interview. Mark 7:37. People were overwhelmed with amazement. He's done everything well, they said. Jesus did everything well. When you go in for an interview, be prepared. You can never be overdressed. It's a job at McDonald's. I promise you, if you turn up in a suit and tie, they'll give it to you. Why? Nobody turns up for a job at McDonald's in a suit and a tie. Okay? But they'll give it to you. Reduce clothes that are a fashion statement. Got a nose ring? Take it out. Well, I don't want to. It's my character status. You're just giving them an opportunity to go, no. Okay? Look professional, but look bland. That's what politicians do. Why? Because it works. Because it works. Know the history of a company you are going to. Research them on their website. Quote this information to your interview. They normally go, say, hey, how are you today? I'm great. I'm really excited working for your company. I see that in the stock market, you've had 20% growth over the last year. Your general manager has been with you for 3 years, which shows security. I'm really excited about this company. You have just been hired. Be half an hour early to every interview. Why? You will hear things. You will hear things. You will notice things. I used to sell for a job, so I'd get to appointments half an hour early. You'd have people coming in and out, coming in and out, coming in and out. I'd pick up so many information before I went in, and I'd overhear, and maybe I'd overhear that the guy liked the Swans football team, and I'd go, oh, you're a Swan supporter. Totally disarm them. We're talking about the Swans. All of a sudden, oh, why are you here? Oh, yeah, you're selling me something. Yeah, he's already made a decision. I'm a good guy. He already wants to buy off me. Brush your teeth just before. No coffee breath. Okay? You know what? It's a really big issue. The other one I haven't put in is give a good handshake. Do not crush, but if you're a wet, pathetic handshaker, you have lost the job. I'm serious, you have lost the job. You may need to practice it with people. If you meet in a cafe, buy your interviewer a drink. You'll get a job. Go, I know you've just had a coffee. Would you like another one? I'd love to buy you a coffee. You're hired. Make 2 extra copies of your resume and hand them one straight away. Okay, great. Here's my resume again, and here's mine. Even if they've got it, they go, you've come prepared. Use a filter in your interview and take notes. There is nothing more discerning to an interviewer when you take notes on him. So he goes, and then you go, can you tell me about the company? Great, okay, great, okay. They're like, what's going on? It disarms, but it also impresses. Have set answers for your questions. So, this is something I get asked about a lot. So if you haven't got OneNote, I'm telling you, there's so much great information on this, okay? I've now put under follow-up studies, okay, job hunting. So this will be on here, but it also has other lessons, because I used to do career workshops on how to address for interviews, what questions to ask, etc. So it's all down here now. So I'm getting this recorded so I don't have to do it again and again. But you need to go in with set answers, because if they go, how did you perform in your last job? And you're like, no, you've lost the job. But if you go in, I did this, I did this, I did this, my manager said this, my manager said this, my manager said this. You've got the job. Prepare, have it written down. Not only that, have questions you want to ask them. Go, can I ask you, what's your staff turnover in the last year? Okay. Why should I work for this company? What are the job opportunities in this company? Like, oh my goodness me. Now you're actually getting into it. You're connecting on their level. Okay. Only tell them information that will sell you. Most interviewers are terrible interviewers. Why? They're normally a manager, like they're a project manager, and interviewing you is like this minuscule amount of their job. They're not professional recruiters like I was. So most interviews go like this. Hey, mate, how are you? Tell me about yourself. And you go, well, you know what? I've got lovely hair and blue eyes, and I'm wearing my nice shoes today. Literally, some people go to that. All right? And they talk about their weekend, and the guy's just totally disinterested. So you have to educate them. So I go, what would you like to know about me? Take control of the interview, but only tell them relevant facts, okay? If you're married, tell them you're married. That is an impressive thing today, which is really, really sad, okay? Tell them about education. Tell them, but you've got to go in that interview knowing what you want to tell that person, okay? Learn from every interview you fail. Call them up and go, can you please give me feedback? You may even get the job. Why? Most jobs are offered, and if you're a good candidate, you're going for 10 interviews, and 10 people want to hire you, and you only take 1. So the fact that they've already offered somebody doesn't mean you haven't got the job. You call back and go, it's already been offered. Call back 2 days later. Did he accept? Why? People do not want to go through the whole process of interviewing people again. It's just taking them 2 days out of their normal job to do it. And you're the guy that calls back. Another thing to learn about agencies is this. If you go and register for a job in an agency, and right now some of you might like some of the student work, working for the packaging companies over Christmas, like TNT. How do you get a job there? Well, first of all, you phone up TNT and you go, which agency do you use? Okay, that's how you find. Then you go to that agency. If you call them up, they won't give you the time of day. Why? They have a process. Their process is you apply online. Okay? So you apply online, and then you go and see them if you want a job. And you sit there until you get an interview. So if you know the job you want, like TNT, it's 4 till 8 in the morning, it's very good money, you go there and go, well, I'm just waiting because I know some people that you are interviewing today won't turn up, and I want to take their job slot. Then say you get into their system. This is how an agency works. I place 30 people working in TNT. It is 6 o'clock in the morning, and TNT phone me up and go, 3 people haven't turned up. I'm filling that job with the first people that I can get my hands on. I don't care about them. I just need 3 bodies in that job. If you are registered with an agency, okay, you need to phone them at 1 minute past 6 every single day. Can I come in? Can I come in? Can I come in? Before mobile phones and everything, we used to have sit-ins. Okay, so literally 6 people would come and sit in my agency, and whoever just didn't show up for a job, you're now going there. We used to call them sit-ins, but now we don't do it anymore because we've got mobile phones. If you're not, you go, well, I feel like I'm bugging them. Absolutely, you're bugging them. That's what you do. They don't care about you personally. It's all money and business. They don't care. You tick somebody off, believe me, you are money to them. Okay, if you tick them off, but you turn up to the job next day and make them money, they will forgive the fact that you tick them off. It's business, it's all about money. So, in essence, getting a job, you've got to really work on your resume. It takes a lot of work, but once you do it, it is worth it. All right? I think about getting an interview. You've got to make sure that you apply yourself all the time until you get it. I like Michael Williamson's quote, which is, don't, what is it? It's, don't go until you're tired, go until the job is done. And then blow them away at the interview. You better be the best person that they've ever seen. And if you go for interviews and you're sitting in the interview room and you're not, then make friends with a guy that is and go, how'd you look so sharp? How'd you do? How'd you do? Even get their telephone number, and if they're the guy that gets the interview, phone them up and go, why did you get it above me? It's a learning process. So it's not just about getting the job this time. It's about learning how to get a job for the rest of your life. Okay? Because we want to build people's lives. Okay? It's not just all evangelism so that we can be happy, we can give contribution, we can help the poor, and then we can have great jobs for the rest of our life. Amen.
To hear more from Dr. Joe Willis, check out his 2 books on Amazon, The Art of Spiritual Warfare, Practicals for Becoming a Prayer Warrior, and Money is the Answer for Everything. Click the links in the description below. Also, for more life-changing lessons, subscribe to his YouTube channel, Dr. Joe Willis.